Hello and welcome to the Hard Questions. I'm Solomon Serwanja. This is a special episode. Special because I have someone who I have called a friend for quite a while and someone who is very dear to my heart. Someone who has served Buganda Kingdom with all his heart. And that's none other than on this special episode of the Hard Questions, I am privileged to host the Katikiro of Buganda, or the Prime Minister of Buganda Kingdom, Oweekitiibwa Charles Peter Mayiga. Oweekitiibwa Charles Peter Mayiga, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
I am actually very happy to see you again. I mean, I covered you as a young reporter all throughout the trenches. I was there when you were given the Damula, which is the authority to run the kingdom. And now you're making 12 years. I want to start by congratulating you for being at the helm right next to the Kabaka to serve your king and the kingdom at large for the last 12 years. Well done.
Well, thank you.
How has it been like?
It has been tough, but there is no easy way out anywhere. You're not going to make an impact anywhere when things are easy. You've got to go through the tough situations. You've got to experience them. I guess anywhere. But then, if you realize that leadership requires initiating solutions to challenges, then you move along.
Yeah.
You move along all the time. You keep moving forward all the time. You keep moving forward all the time, despite the challenges you face.
Yeah, so many challenges, but also opportunities. Let's start with your key achievements for the last 12 years. 12 years is a milestone. So if you are to be accountable to the Kingdom of Buganda and to Ugandans, what do you look back at in the last 12 years as your key milestones?
Well, I think we have managed to unite the people of the kingdom, despite all the odds. When it comes to the matters of our heritage, matters of the kingdom, you'll find us working with everyone. If I went to any mosque in any part of the kingdom, I'll be most welcome. Any Catholic church, any Anglican church, any ethnic group. If I went to areas where you find, for example, in Maogola, you find Abalaro, they'll be very happy to receive me. The Nubians here in Bombo, the different political actors. I work quite closely with the people in power. I work quite closely with those in the opposition, those who want to unseat the people in power. I always work with them.
And finding that small, thin line.
Yes, it is difficult, but we've tried. I think that's a big achievement because now, while people appreciate that there are differences, political persuasion or ideological orientation or, faith, there is need to build a kingdom that is for everyone. And I think that has been very well done. I think the achievement is there for everyone to see. For me, it's a big milestone. Because you see, if Solomon, I don't even know your religion. Are you Catholic or Anglican? I don't know. Whatever it is, if you can't come here because of your faith, then the kingdom ceases to serve the interests of the people. Or if you are, let's say, a Samia and you stay in Bugerere and you do not enjoy the cultural mores of the area where you reside, then it is not relevant to you. But every day we receive people from all walks of life. You've got to work towards that. You don't just achieve it as a miracle. Depends on the policies you adopt.
Yeah. I mean, look at the whole Nakasongola stretch. Luweero, Nakasongola.
Yeah.
The different ethnicities that stay within the kingdom, and for you to be able to unite them.
Yes. Of course, there are people who tell them, oh, you are from Nakasongola, you are not Baganda. People will say those things. Oh, you are from Kochi, you are not a Muganda, or things like that. That happens. And your actions must counter that narrative. And that's what we've tried to do in the last 12 years. But I didn't start it. Even my predecessors practiced that to a big extent.
Yeah. Let's talk about, well, that's a great milestone. Unity is a very great milestone. The reconstruction of the Kasubi tombs for me is the epitome of your time in leadership. From the time you started resource mobilization to its completion, that's something to look back to.
But for me, that's not even comparable to the change of the mindset of the people in Uganda. Because for me, the fundraising drive, dubbed the Tofali, wasn't really about money, although that was at the forefront. The entire idea was about people stop being apathetic. You know, there was a time when people thought that someone is going to come from, I don't know, from where, maybe from heaven, and give them the resources to develop the kingdom. And when I traversed the kingdom for the first 3 years of my premiership, I was telling people not to wait for an angel. I told them that God is pleased with those who help themselves all the time. So if you're looking for angels, they will come and help you when you help yourself. So rise up. Give me the money for starters to reconstruct the tombs. But the whole idea was about stopping being apathetic. You know, in 1996, when it was 30 years since the attack on the palace, the Kabaka had an event in the Lubiri grounds. The president was in attendance, and he told us to stop lamenting about the sufferings we had experienced. For me, that was a very big statement. Because you see, when you are pathetic, you disable yourself from achieving what you are capable of. Because all the time you think somebody must come and shoulder you up or give you a helping hand or things like that. When you believe you can achieve something by yourself, you'll keep moving. You'll keep moving forward. And that, for me, is what Etofali was about. We raised a lot of money, over 10 billion in cash. And if you quantify the contributions, which were not monetary, it was in excess of 20 billion. I mean, look at that building, Masengeri. If we were told to build it today, you could spend, I don't know, maybe 20 billion or something. We spent about 6 billion because the engineers and all these people were not charging money, you know, and we were buying the materials ourselves. So we collected a lot of money. But for me, the biggest achievement is the change in the mindset. Today, when you came in today, you found the people filled in the yard.
Yeah.
That's Oluwalo. Every week, people come voluntarily. Tuesday and Thursday. They just come and give us money. Last year, we collected about 1.7 billion. People just come and they say, the Kabaka's work must go on. We know you're not collecting taxes. You know?
Wow.
Yeah. And people come every week voluntarily. And that is because there is a shift in attitude. They know we must rise and do these things on our own. If anybody is going to help us, they'll find us moving. So for me, that's a big, big, big achievement. And because of that change in mindset, we've been able to rebuild the tombs. Because so far, we've spent about 12, 13 billion on the tombs.
13 billion shillings.
Close to, I think. The last time we had it was about 11 to about 12, but that is about a year ago. And out of that, government has given us 4.3 billion. The rest has been mobilized by ourselves. You know? It has been mobilized by ourselves from ordinary people. And because people believe they can achieve something on their own, change of mindset. For me, that's a major, major milestone. Even structures like Masengere, it's a huge building. It's bigger than Bulang, actually, in surface area. Masengere or the tombs or these other things. You can talk about the TV, BBS, and all these things. They are big milestones, but you can't compare them to the change in attitude of the people in the kingdom.
Yeah, you really, I mean, I saw you at the time during the 3 years you're talking about. You even went out of the kingdom. You received funding. You traveled abroad.
I went to Ankole, I went to Busoga, I went to Bugisu, I went to Bukedi, I went to Europe, I went to America. The Americas, if you want, because I went to Canada and the US. I went all over those areas, but the biggest amounts of money were collected from ordinary people within the kingdom. Out of the 10 or 11 billion you collected, I think about 7 or 8 came from ordinary people. Companies, corporations, and diaspora raised about 3 billion. The rest was raised by the people, the ordinary person in the village. Wow. And because I went everywhere in the kingdom, I would report to the Kabaka every week. Every week in our regular meetings, I would tell him what I had witnessed. There is a time, I went to Maogola the first time. Maogola is Sembabule district for the uninitiated. The people who are not initiated. The first time they gave me 45 million shillings. I went back and they gave me 85 million shillings. And the Kabaka asked me, how does this happen? Because you've been there before. And you tell me you witnessed, so much poverty. You could see it. I went to a village where a woman would cover her children in the night with a gomesi. The gomesi she wears during the day is the one she would cover her children with at night. Those are extreme levels of poverty. I went to another village where somebody was staying in the same house with his goats because he could not build a strong enough structure for his goats so that they don't get stolen. Those are extreme levels of poverty. I saw that. And I'll tell the Kabaka all the time. So he asked me, what are you going to do about this poverty? People have extended so much goodwill, but they are so poor. I went to deep in Chagwe, Wiyukwe, and they gave me over 100 million. So that's how we conceived the idea of a Mwancherimba, incidentally.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. But there were issues of accountability for the over 10 billion that you say. People became impatient. People started asking issues of accountability, asking you to account for every penny that you got.
But that's what I used to do. Those were just naysayers. We would, every month we would gather in Kasubi during the construction of the perimeter wall. There's a perimeter wall around the tombs, which is about 3 kilometers. And every month we would come and tell the people what we got, what we spent. And we would do the same when we were building Masengeri. We would even give the accounts in papers. I think Monitor did a very good job. They run so many, many times. I even have those newspapers. You can go and find them. We accounted for even bank interests. The little fees that the banks charge, they were all printed out. But we had naysayers. There were people, first of all, there were people who were surprised that such a thing was happening on my watch. How is this possible? No, this is not possible. Maybe questions like, why him? Those things exist in real life. And they started those stories. Then there were groups of people who believed that I was taking some of the money with me back home. If you go to Wiyukwa and you raise 100 million shillings, deep, in that area near the lake where I think the MP is Dr. Michael Mayiga, those areas. Mahogola, for example, you collect 80 million. And some people believe that I would take a percentage of that money with me back home, with me, for my personal use. And they started a campaign of saying I was siphoning off some of the money, so that I call them quietly and I give them their cut. You can accuse me of so many things, Solomon. You can accuse me of so many things. You can never catch me regarding financial impropriety. Never. I don't do those things. I don't deal. I don't deal. I don't work from under the table. That's not me. I don't work like that. I've never worked like that. You can accuse me of so many other things, but, playing these games to get money which is not mine, I've never done that. Of course, if I was doing that, we wouldn't have achieved so much with that money. We wouldn't have done so much. But there was talk. There is so much corruption in this country. And so many people believe you can't hold a high office as high as the one I occupy, and you don't deal. You don't deal. How do you build this structure without asking for a pay cut from I don't even know who?
The contractors.
A contract. How don't you? Me? Nope, never. You can accuse me of so many other things, but financial impropriety, that's not my way of doing things.
And you had internal auditors, and you also published the audit reports in the dailies.
They were printed in the Daily Monitor, not once. You can go and ask, I'm sure there is a library in your office. Go and look through the Daily Monitor. During those days of the top file, you find, even in Bukit Day, I think even in Bukit, I don't remember New Vision running those things. But
well, you see
but people are talking.
Yeah.
Today, I commissioned so many buildings. About a month ago, I commissioned a block named after me in a school called Verona High School in Mutunde. The other day, I commissioned a library named after me in a school called St. Juliana in Gayaza. The other day, I commissioned a building, a computer lab in a school called Katikamu Light College. They named it after me. I didn't ask them, they chose. They got their reasons. But people post in social media platforms that, oh, those are my schools. A friend of mine, Nabagerek, had this mentorship camp called the Chisakat.
The Chisakat, the Nabagerek.
It was held in Muza High School. Then a very good friend of mine, now this one disappointed me because educated, presumably knowledgeable, and she's like, Peter, you started a school with the Nabagereka in somewhere near Mukono. I told her, don't be silly. I'm entrepreneurial, but do you think I would do business with the Kabaka's wife? Do you really think I would do that? And, and I was angry with her, actually.
Yeah.
Because, people are supposed to think with their heads. We are supposed to think with our heads. Then, because she's my friend, I told her, where did you put your brains? Did you suck them out and fill them with some soup?
Issues of accountability have come out at different levels, including, by the way, the money that the kingdom raises through the Kabaka run.
That one is also accounted for.
Yeah,
every year.
Questions have come out really on how the kingdom spends that money.
So much money, when you raise billions of shillings in a country called Uganda, people think you're going to have cuts, deals, and things like that. The treasurer every year does that to show how we're using the funds to fight against HIV/AIDS. But how do people think I run this kingdom? How do people think I run this kingdom? How do we keep all these operations going when we don't collect taxes? That's why I'm saying we must think on our feet. Because it is easy to talk about financial impropriety. You had a birthday run, you raised, I think this year, in April, we raised, I don't remember, was it 1.6 billion or something, 1.4? But the treasurer gives all the figures in black and white. And somebody should ask themselves, how, for example, you saw, we are renovating this building. How do I raise the money to do this? How do I pay the staff? We've got a civil service. How do I pay them? People should ask these questions.
The operational costs, you drive cars.
How do I pay for the water bills and electricity bills for this building? We pay 30 million every month in that range for Blank building alone.
Which perhaps brings the next question, the financial sustainability of the kingdom. Yes, we have the goodwill right now. People, there's the Kabaka and there's the Ruwalo going on where people are donating. But the bigger picture, you being now the CEO of the kingdom, must focus on financial sustainability of the kingdom. What have you done about that?
Yeah, we keep innovating all the time. For example, we set up Majestic Brands. That is the company that manages the image rights of the kingdom. If you want to come and partner with us for commercial purposes, for example, Nirvana Water, for example, Uganda Breweries, for example, Airtel Uganda, I&M Bank, Centenary Bank, DFCU Bank, and a host of others. You go through Majestic Brand, and we tell you, we are going, because we are the bridge to the market. As you may know, nearly 70% of the country's GDP is within a radius of 80 kilometers from Kampala. That is precisely the kingdom of Buganda. So, and we've got the masses because these are the subjects of the king. And if, for example, if you partner with us during the Kabaka's birthday run or during the Masaza tournament, anybody who has anything to sell needs the numbers. We give you the numbers. What do you give us in return? We raise some money from those partnerships with such companies. You know, for example, the mindset change I told you about. If the people hadn't given us the money, probably the tombs wouldn't be done. They wouldn't have been redone. If people hadn't given us the money, Masenge, they wouldn't have been done. You innovate. You innovate and you get some money. It's not a lot. Our budget, which the Minister of Finance read in July, was 300 billion or something like that. People are calling me, Kongs, you big. Yes, we've been growing, but I told them, wait a minute, 300 billion for the kingdom of nearly 14 million people is still peanuts. But it's better than where we've been some years back. We keep moving forward.
And raising 300 billion for a financial year is quite hefty.
Yeah, but we run so many programs. I'm sure you've witnessed the health camps, the Kabaka, holds. Kabaka Foundation runs the health camps. I'm sure you've witnessed them. I'm sure you've heard about the Kabaka Education Fund. The helping the indigent really with school fees. You've heard about all these programs. When I go out for Mwanterimba, I spend about 20 million every time I drive out into the counties. Yeah, because I don't go on foot. And the people I go with don't walk. They use cars, they use it's a lot. It's a lot of money you need to expend. But we innovate. And I think the kingdom's income will continue growing with time because a number of the projects we've set up are moving on well.
So when I was coming here, I thought, the king has a lot of land.
We have land also.
Has a lot of land. And I'm thinking, can't Buganda go heavy on coffee plantations across the kingdom as a kingdom itself to be able to increase on its revenue? I don't know.
Maybe the kingdom itself may not be very necessary. If the people are empowered, in any case, at the individual level, then the kingdom is empowered. And one of the reasons the money from Oruwaro, the voluntary weekly contributions has been going up is because coffee has empowered the masses.
But is that sustainable?
No, it isn't. But like I told you, we innovate. For example, we now trade in coffee as a kingdom. Mwanterimba Limited. We have a company that trades in coffee. We export coffee. The kingdom exports coffee. Yeah.
Music to my ears.
Yeah, the kingdom exports coffee. We want to set up a coffee processing plant to grade the coffee. All these innovations, we've had collaborations, for example, with UBL when we had the Ngule lager.
Yeah.
It had its hitches.
Yeah.
Then we had the Orlando water. I mean, you innovate.
Which is good.
The sustainability comes from innovations because you need constant flow of finances to get a reasonable cash flow to keep operations going.
Yeah.
It's a long process, but I think we're on track.
Okay. Well, I thought I would delay on that because, if the financial streams are coming through, then you're able to do the work.
But also we are very frugal with the finances we get. There is zero tolerance for corruption here in Bulanga or in other kingdom outposts. Of course, individuals could play dirty games, at their own risk. Because when I catch them, I break their hands.
Have you burnt some of them?
Plenty of times. But I don't want to blow the trumpet about that.
And that puts you in a very delicate position.
Because you see, in Uganda, we say, if I wrestle you down, I don't bite you. If I wrestle you down, if I kick you out of the office, I don't need to talk much about it because possibly you will reform and you get employed somewhere else. You've got probably, and most of these people we employ are very young people. So when we break their hands, we don't talk about it, but we break their hands all the time. All the time.
Interesting. Zero tolerance to corruption.
No, I don't want people who deal. I don't want dealers. I don't deal. If you brought a proposal here to me and they come Solomon, I receive over 100 letters every week. And 10% of those are proposals, different sorts of proposals. We want land to do this. We want to manufacture this with you. We want to do this and the other. We take it to a company called BCAL. That is short for Buganda Investments and Commercial Undertakings Limited. It's got a board, it's got a structure and CEO. The board sits and looks at these proposals. I don't look at them. All of them write to me, but I don't look at them. Because I don't want things to come from top down. I want things to come from down up. So BCAL board looks at the proposals. They say, this one is proposing to, let's say to, bottle water with us. And then BCAL board will look at the bona fides of the shareholders of the company making that proposal. Are you paying taxes? Are you doing this? Are you fully registered? How long have you been operating? All these things. Then they make a recommendation that we need to have further talks with them. Then from there, the proposal is taken to the Buganda Royal Law Chambers. We've got the law chambers of the kingdom here, Buganda Royal Law Chambers, headed by the kingdom's Attorney General. They look at the legal characteristics surrounding the proposal. And then the Attorney General writes and says it's clean. Then that's when they bring it to me. Actually, not even to me, they take it to cabinet. It's taken to cabinet. Say this is the report from BCAL, this is the report from Buganda Royal Law Chambers. Are we good here? If the majority say we are good here, then we invite you for further discussions.
Wow.
So we don't deal. I don't want to deal. I don't need to deal. I don't want to deal. I don't want those things. I just, this is a public office. I don't deal. So I don't want to work with people who want to deal. Of course, some people think they're very smart. It can happen here and there, and, people playing market tricks. But when we catch you, we break your hand.
Peter Mayiga, you go to bed and sleep and wake up without having to.
No, I sleep because you see, there is no job worth its salt, worth its name that is easy. That's what I've known from the very beginning. Because which significant office is easier to run, really? I interact with so many people. I interact with top executives of big corporations. I interact with leaders at different levels. All of them are going to tell you about the challenges they face. So if you are going to brood, then you're not going to sleep. I know it comes with a job. It's a very tough job, but that's how it's got to be. That's how it has been even before we knew that Europeans existed. If you read the history of the kingdom, every category was challenged in some way. So I go, after here, Solomon, the best moment for me in the day is the hour or two before I go to bed. Because I throw away the tie, I throw away the suit, I don shorts and a vest, stretch out my legs on a coffee table, take a bottle or two of some good drink.
Yeah, and no, you have nothing to worry about.
There are things to worry about. Yeah. It's like you have.
Yeah, no, I understand. Like, but in terms of a big cut in a shoddy deal or.
No. Because I don't deal. So what am I going to worry about? There's certain things that worry me. For example, you've come on the second day of September. I've got bills to pay. I've got salaries to pay. And here we employ very young people. You've got to pay them their allowances, and all these things. You've got to worry about those things. Then you've got to worry about people want to destabilize the kingdom. But that comes with a job. In the past, we had our tiffs with the Banyoro, for example. They were constant. Think about the Katikiros who were there then. When we were fighting with the Banyoro to grab Buwekula from them, or to grab Singo from them, you think it was easy for the Katikiro then? Today we've got the politicians. You've got to worry about those things, but that won't keep me awake. I will sleep because it comes with a job.
And I think we should get right there. But before we get there, I wanted to talk about the relationship between the central government and Mayingo. Where are you at this moment? Where is your relationship at with the central government, especially with your key core demands? Where are you at?
I think we are very respectful towards each other. I do not want to play shouting matches. I don't want to participate in shouting matches. But I don't flinch on the core values that sustain the kingdom. I don't flinch. But then I don't want to engage in shouting matches or, fractious debates. I don't think they're of any value. But then I don't flinch. I'll tell the powers that are that this is what we want. The people of Buganda have demanded a federal system of government since way back. I say it calmly, but I don't move away from that. And the government owes us billions of shillings. I tell them, pay us. I can see you are paying all the other people from whom, for example, you rent properties. That happens to the kingdom as well. Most of the police headquarters, district headquarters within the kingdom are on our land. Pay us. I say it calmly, but I don't flinch. So I think it is quite respectful. I've got very cordial relations with most people in the central government. And away from these debates, when you met us, we would be the best of friends. I don't flinch.
Do you feel that
But I don't shout.
Do you feel that government will honor some of those demands?
Well, with time. Because you see, if your demand is legitimate, it cannot be wished away. Look at the restoration of the kingdom, for example. When there was a constitutional ban on monarchies in 1967, and all the subsequent regimes we had, some people might have thought the kingdom was dead and buried. But this is legitimate. You belong to the Mamba clan, I belong to the Mutima clan, Katongole belongs to the Ente clan. This is not something which you applied for. You're born like that. It's part of your value system. And eventually the clans, are all headed by clan heads, Abataka, and every clan head gets, his mandate from the Kabaka. So that's how every Muganda is connected to the Kabaka. You can't take it away. Whatever you say, whichever constitution you're going to write. And eventually, when the situation was right, the kingdom was restored. Because it's a legitimate demand. How you want to be governed is a legitimate demand. It's not some wishful thinking. You prefer to be governed that way. The Americans prefer to do away with the monarchy in England in 1776. The French wanted to do away with the monarchy in 1789 or something like that. The Baganda prefer to have their monarchy. And we want to be governed under a federal system of government so that we protect our heritage. That's a legitimate demand. So time is going to come and it is granted. I've got no doubt about it. I can't predict when that will happen. That's going to happen, probably in our lifetime.
Because it's been really a long time coming.
It's legitimate.
Most of the categories have presented this so many times.
So I tell people not to worry too much. I only worry about things which are fluid. If the desire for a federal system of government is about sloganeering, then you must be hasty in demanding that it gets granted tomorrow. But these are not slogans. This is a system of government which is preferred. What's wrong with that?
You manage your own resources, raise your own money,
what's
decide
wrong
how
with
to
that?
spend it.
It's an international phenomenon. So it's not peculiar to us. It happens in Nigeria, it happens in Ethiopia, it happens in Switzerland, a very small country, it happens in Belgium, very small country.
Before you know it, other kingdoms will demand for the federal system.
So be it.
And that requires requires the rewriting of the constitution.
Does that mark the return of Jesus so that the sinners could get worried? If the others what actually they did, 65% of Ugandans told Justice Odoki that they wanted a federal system of government. Go and look at his report. 65%.
During the referendum.
No, there was a constitution-making exercise.
Oh, yeah.
There was a constitution commission which was headed by Justice Benjamin Odoki. The report is there. I wrote about it in my book, King on the Throne. The majority of the people asked for it. In Uganda, it was over 90%. But nationally, it was over 65%, if my memory serves me right. So, you got to worry about things, for example, poverty. Because your son needs tuition. The time is about to begin. If your child is taken ill, you've got to take him to the hospital. You've got to pay the hospital bills. That's why I tell people, we know what we want as far as the system of government is concerned. But there are certain things that are immediate, like poverty. We've got to fight it now. But when the conditions change, federalism will be granted. I know it.
And you're optimistic.
Yeah.
Speaking of that and the relationship with the central government, the government has insisted that cultural leaders should stay in their lane and not get involved into politics or even making any political statements or be seen anywhere next to the politics. But you've come out on your different platforms to really speak up against, brutality of people, arrest of people, enforced disappearance, and the torture of citizens on different platforms. I've seen you quite strongly.
Yeah.
What really pushes you to go that direction?
The rule of law. The Constitution is very clear. The Constitution bars traditional leaders from engaging in partisan politics. For example, in any case, I'm not a traditional leader. I'm not a traditional leader. I'm the Prime Minister of the Kingdom. There is nothing that bars me from being partisan, actually. The Kabaka, yes. The Kabaka, no. The Kabaka, no. Because the Kabaka can't say, I support NRM, I support NUP, I support all these parties that have come up. The Kabaka can't say that because, well, he's like a religious leader. If I go to Rubaga, the Archbishop should welcome everyone.
Yeah.
Whether they are red or yellow, blue or green. That applies to the Kabaka as well. But I'm not a Kabaka. But having said that, it would complicate issues if I were to say I am for red or I'm for yellow, given the position I'm in. And I don't do that. I'm neutral, specifically because of the office I occupy.
Yeah.
But the rule of law calls upon every citizen to ensure that people's human rights are observed. Even if you're a cultural leader or a religious leader, actually, religious leaders are on call all the time. Human rights are violated. So the rule of law requires that we observe the law as it's written on the book. We respect the Constitution and all its provisions. That is for everyone, irrespective of their station in life. And that's what I do. Look, in my position, it would be a disservice if I didn't call upon those, especially in the security circles, to respect the law, to respect human rights. The people over whom I superintend on behalf of the Kabaka are the very people who suffered the hands of violation of human rights. So I think I've got a duty to tell the nation, not only the people of Buganda, that the rule of law is paramount or is of paramount importance. And I think this is a duty not only for me, but for every other prime minister in other kingdom or chiefdoms or cultural unions. This is the duty for every leader. They could be religious, they could be characterized in different forms, because this is of universal application.
Yeah, largely because, we've seen impunity happen in this country, how people's rights are violated, people who have been tortured, people who have disappeared. And you just can't stay quiet.
And it doesn't help the government when that happens on its watch. There is no government in the world which sustained itself in the long run because of violence. Violence begets violence, and it eats up everyone in the final analysis. So I always say that whoever supports government should condemn the violation of human rights, because why the NRM has been in power for this long, one of the reasons is because in those very many years at the beginning, you could not hear of abductions. And, that helps the government to live on because people think they're doing the right thing. But when you start abducting people, torturing them, or when the security agencies do it and they're not apprehended, people get second doubts. And that can be very, very dangerous for regimes.
Yeah. Let's talk about really, we're in a political season. We're going to elections. We're going to you know, Ugandans are going to shape their democracy through casting their ballots. What would be your message out there as we get into this deeply heated political season?
Look, we need to respect each other for starters. We need to accord room to everyone to play out their political games. People should be able to traverse the country and hold rallies and talk to the voters. And the person with the best program gets voted in. I abhor the violence witnessed last elections. People died. People were tortured. That is not good. Not only for democracy and the rule of law, but for the stability of the country. And if there is no stability in the country, the prospects for further development are stifled. And that can cause lots and lots of problems. So the campaign should go on. The elections should be seen to be free and fair. And then we should have respect, not name calling. You know, you're asking me, and I told you I don't shout at people. I don't want to engage in shouting matches. I don't think politicians should engage in that either, or name calling and things like that. You see, in certain developed countries like the US, what we witnessed in the last elections is something akin to what we witnessed in much of Africa. Candidates calling each other names, and something I didn't think I would ever witness in my life, as we did in the US. And nearly did so even in the UK. Nearly did. So it's not good for democracy.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's really terrible. But let's now look inward into the kingdom itself, where you have had really critical challenges. I wanted you to speak to some of these challenges, one of which was the health state of the Kabaka. The kingdom demanded to know what happened, what was happening with the king and his health. You remained tight-lipped at the time when we needed information. Perhaps, do you want to speak about that?
But that's not entirely true that I was tight-lipped. I used to issue statements, say the Kabaka is flown out to Europe for health reasons. But some people would have preferred that I tell them what he's suffering from. First of all, I'm not his doctor. I'm not his doctor. And even if I were his doctor, I wouldn't divulge unless I get his permission. Because doctors, if you went to see your doctor, he wouldn't tell your wife what your problem is unless you gave him the authority to do so. Now, one time I went to Sweden. It was like a town hall kind of environment. And after my address, people were free to ask questions. And the lady shot up her hand and said, "Tell us about the Kabaka." I asked her, "Do you have a mother?" She said, "I do have." I asked, "How old is your mother?" She said, "I don't remember. Maybe she said 70 or something." And then I asked her, "Does she fall sick or ill once in a while?" I said, "Oh, yes, she does. Tell us, what is she suffering from?" And then she said, "But I can't tell you. I can't divulge my mother's health condition here." And I told her, "Why do you want me to talk about the Kabaka's health condition before all these years? It's not ethical. It's a private matter. He's the king. We understand he's a public figure. People are interested in his health. I appreciate that. I appreciate people's concern. But how would someone expect me to stand up and tell them, "Oh, the Kabaka is suffering from this"? I'm not his doctor. And even if I were, I would seek his permission to tell the public what is suffering specifically. But I told the people it was an allergy. But you know, when you talk about an allergy, people think you're talking about certain swellings around the hands or somewhere.
Yeah.
But you know, if you talk to any medical personnel, he tells you that different allergies affect different people differently. You know? And for some, it can be very severe, like in his case. And I said that much, by the way, about the allergy. And they said, no, you're lying to us. Then somebody quite influential said, I also have an allergy, but look at me, I'm healthy.
People couldn't believe you.
Then they said,
I mean, because when you saw the king in the state he was in at that time and juxtapose it to what you're saying, that he's just having an allergy.
I know a friend who, whenever he contracts a cold, the common cold, he doesn't work for a week. I know a friend, when he contracts a cold, this common cold, senyiga, he goes down at times even for 2 weeks. Yes, have you seen such people? When they've got a certain kind of flu, they can't work, they've got a fever, they are burning up, I've met people, but with me, if I got a cold, you may not even know. So people get affected differently because people are not the same. And I don't know why they expected me to turn the Kabaka's health status into some sort of topic for debate. I wouldn't do that.
Well, I think they just thought that
I wouldn't do that. And I don't know what purpose they thought that would serve anyway. Because I told them, I assured them, the Kabaka has the best medical teams here and abroad. And it is true. The very best you can find. And what more would I tell them? But then there were people with different motives. There were people who were interested in attacking me personally, maybe because of my incumbency. Somebody must be held responsible when bad things happen, I think. And there were about 3-4 different groups of people, different categories of people who knew exactly what I was saying. Just like you're not going to tell me about your wife's health status. You're not going to tell your colleagues. You work with people. If your wife is taken ill, you're not likely to go and tell them, my wife is suffering from this. I don't think you're going to do that. You're telling them she's indisposed. She's feverish. She's going to see a doctor. It may not be necessary for you to divulge that information to your colleagues in your workplace. And what information I gave, I think, was sufficient. But then there were people who saw that as a chance to poke sort of holes in my,
leadership.
I think for them it was a chance. Other people thought that was the moment to shake me until they throw me down. I'm very difficult to throw down, especially under such circumstances.
In fact, there were allegations that Kabaka wa muambie.
But how do you do that?
You sort of like had blocked everyone from seeing the
But how do
Kabaka. They couldn't access him. Mayiga, Efude Mayiga, including some of the people within the kingdom.
Solomon, the Kabaka has a family. He's got children who are adults. Some of them are still young, but he's got children who are adults. The Kabaka has siblings. Some of them are older than him. Others are younger than him. He's very close to his siblings. The Kabaka has friends. So, and all these people wouldn't come to his rescue. And the Kabaka is not an infant. How do I, cut him off from the public? How do I do that? How do you even do it? The Kabaka is my boss. How do how do I do this? He's my boss. So I go to him and say, Your Majesty, I'm locking you up in the palace now. To whom do I give the orders to lock him up in the palace? The Kabaka is the one who issues orders. My job is to carry out his orders.
Well, there were people who were saying Tatukiriza, he doesn't even allow us to have access to him,
Under normal circumstances, and under Buganda tradition, everybody who went to the Kabaka would go through the Katikiro. That was the practice.
Yeah.
That was in the deep past. Now the Kabaka, if he wants to talk to you, he'll call you on his cell phone. Doesn't need to go through me. If the Kabaka wants to know what's happening in Ibudu, that is Masaka for the uninitiated. He'll call the counter chief of Masaka on the cell phone. He doesn't have to go through the Katikiro. Okay? But having said that, many times when people want to see the Kabaka, they will come through the Katikiro. And the Katikiro will inform the Kabaka, there is a group of these people, there are these guests. That still happens. But when it comes to personal issues, the Katikiro doesn't choose the Kabaka as friends. The Katikiro doesn't tell the Kabaka who to see in the evening or on Saturday, wherever he wants. The Kabaka has aides all around him. He can tell them, go and call for me Solomon Serwanja. So how do I lock him up? It is like, I told you about a friend of mine who I asked where her brains had gone. Some people need to think on their feet.
Yeah.
Not to be so excitable. When people are excitable, they cease to give deep analysis to situations. You know? The Kabaka can't be locked up by anybody. In any case, the Kabaka is not a street child. Because you see, when you are walking along the streets of Kampala, you see KCCA coming and picking up street kids. You don't even know where they take them. But the Kabaka of all people, I think in this country, the president, because he's the president, is the most important person. I think the second is the Kabaka. In real terms, I'm not talking about the Constitution. The Constitution has its own provisions, but I'm talking about in real terms.
Yeah.
So how do you are the Katikiro, and you've secluded the Kabaka, one of the most powerful persons in the country, in the region. Where do you keep him?
In fact, at the time when he was receiving healthcare, there are those that wanted to see him. They said they had been blocked and they are part of the inner part of the kingdom and they had to fly out to see the king and they were arrested and, it was global news. And
there is a time we had the late Nelson Kawaria, who was the speaker of the Buganda Luchiko, and he was hospitalized in Meng Hospital when he was speaker of the Buganda Luchiko. And I went to see him, and I'm the Katikiro of Buganda, and everybody in the hospital knows me. And they told me we don't want him to receive any visitors. And I respected that. I think Oichitiwa Kawaria wanted me to visit, but the doctors were very clear. Because when I went to his room, it was clearly marked, no visitors, and I found doctors outside, and they said, Oichitiwa Katikiro, tubali tusaba n'obuwombeefu oleme kulaba mulwadde mu ssaawa eno bye tumukolako teera akulaba balwadde. They spoke in Luganda. And I said, fine, when you're done, please tell him I was here. And then I talked to his family members who were outside. They knew me, they welcomed me. They said, we are very happy to see you, Katikiro, tubadde tukulinze. Never doctor, tibakkiriza kulaba mulwadde. So, when the Kabaka is receiving medical attention and the doctors don't want to receive visitors, why should anyone force himself on him? Why should anyone do that? It's even ungentlemanly in the ordinary scheme of things. If I want to see you and you are hospitalized and I find an inscription on the door saying no visitors allowed, why should I barge in? Why should I do that? Because I'm the Katikiro, I'm very important? That's ungentlemanly. And I told them, you're talking about the clan heads.
yes.
I don't know why you're talking about in circles.
The clan
Everyone
heads.
knows the clan heads, 5 of them.
Yeah.
Or 5 of them. They went. And I told them there is no need for them to go because they won't see him. I told them.
But they went ahead and
But they went. They boarded the plane and they went and they were arrested, actually. Everybody saw it. So I'm not like spreading bad news. Everyone knows what happened. I think that was ungentlemanly. It wasn't necessary. And it's this talk of saying, "Oh, you've cut him off from us. It's only you who has access to him." But I'm the Katikiro anyway. Why should anyone forget that? In our traditions, the Buganda traditions, there are only 2 persons whose access to the Kabaka can never be impeded: his mother, the Namasole, and the Katikiro of Buganda. That is our tradition. If, for example, I drove the palace and I reach the gates and I tell the guards I need to see the Kabaka, they're not supposed to block me in our tradition.
wow.
So, why does anyone have to complain about that? When you go to a company and there is a CEO, the CEO is going to have a personal secretary who ushers in the guests.
Yeah.
And the CEO many times will give instructions to the secretary that I'm not available in the next 2 hours. So you walk in and you are the Katikiro of Buganda and you walk past the secretary and you barge into the CEO's office.
You can't.
That's ungentlemanly. So I don't think there was any need for them to do that. And it was quite embarrassing for all of us because these are respected leaders. And, well, at times we learn from our mistakes.
Yeah. I know we have about 10 more minutes, but I wanted to spend the next 10 minutes you talking about, how have you been able to overcome all these challenges at the helm of the kingdom?
You stay calm and collected. And you give yourself moments to think about the whirlwind, all these things happening. And then I've got a team, a very reliable team. I've got the cabinet, the ministers appointed by the Kabaka. I've got the county chiefs appointed by the Kabaka. I've got the clan heads themselves, actually. I work very well with them. And I sit down and we discuss issues. Members of the royal family, I sit with them and we discuss issues. When you are in top leadership, you need to engage as much as possible with people you work with, your teams. If there is an issue, you talk with your colleagues. You tell them there is this issue. How do we deal with it? And you let them talk. And they tell you, we sit every other Thursday. We sit as cabinet. I engage with CEOs of our companies and agencies. I engage with clan heads. I engage with county chief heads. From all this, you get the solutions. And I think it helps a lot when you engage. I engage with young people through Nkobazambogo Students Associations. You hear their views. You remain calm under all circumstances. You don't get excited by happenings. You don't get affected by trivialities. You don't take things so personal. Every time people abuse me on social media and I'm so angry. By the way, I don't listen to them much, but when I do and they abuse me, I laugh. Because I've got a media team. I've got a media team. So I ask them.
Makes the two of us, it turns off from social media and it becomes personal, yeah.
So I asked them, what's happening? There is this guy is calling you names. So let me see the clip. So I see it. Then I asked them, what does he do? There is a guy, I asked them, what does this guy do? Has he got a stall in a market? You know, to run a stall in the market is a lot of work. I don't know what people think about it. These women wake up at 3 in.the.morning to go and trade. You know, the trucks come from all over the countryside, bringing vegetables and fruits and food. And these women wake up at 3 in.the.morning to go and trade. Then they sit in the sun. They sit through the rain at their market stalls. Then they told me he doesn't own any. Then I asked him, does he ride a border? Because these guys, when you move at night at 2 in.the.morning, you see a border man. When it's raining, when you go through the dusty roads, the border man is there with his thick jacket. That's a tough job, man. You've got to respect them. But this guy, he sits somewhere, and he's never run a kiosk, he's never run a market stall, he's never ridden a border, he's doing some odd jobs, and he's miserable and frustrated. And he's talking about the Katikkiro of Buganda. So I went to Makerere for the inaugural Martin Luther and Sibirwa lecture, and the students asked me how I managed all these guys talking. That was the time when they were talking a lot. I told them, look, you guys, I'm an alumnus of this university. You know, I'm a lawyer. I'm a member of the Uganda Law Society and the East African Law Society. If I'm eligible to be judge of even the Supreme Court. You know, I'm a married man. So how does anyone expect me to engage with a man who has never run a market stall? It simply doesn't work that way. So I just laugh it off because I think that's what it deserves. But if they told me Solomon Serwanja was talking ill of me, making allegations against me, because Solomon Serwanja is somebody. He's got some experience. And I'm not talking about money or anything, but you've gone through a lot over the years. You've got exposure to many different aspects of life. I pay attention, actually, when such people talk. Those who talk what they shouldn't be saying, especially if they are supposed to be experienced, are the ones who surprise me.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it doesn't affect me at all.
Do you just like wish them off and, do you manage your socials?
But I don't manage my own socials. I've got a team. Yeah. But you saw Frank Gashumba coming here to apologize.
Yeah.
Then the family of the late Tamale Mirundi also came here.
Yeah.
Then recently you saw the Ganda boys, these guys who are singing Chiwacha Uganda.
Yes.
They were talking irresponsibly on social media. They realized they came here. I met them. Because look, I call myself omwana wa Kabaka omukulu. Because fenna tuli baana ba Kabaka. So omwana omukulu awaka must be mindful of the ways of his young siblings. So when, for example, Frank Gashumba said he was coming to apologize, he wrote it to me and I said, why not? And he came. So actually, the only time I pay attention is when somebody with experience is making utterances which are irresponsible. Like the friend of mine who told me I was running a school with a Nabagereka. I told her off.
That stays with you.
But yeah, but these other ordinary people, some of them are paid. Some of them are paid by naysayers. You go because you're faith. They won't know who you are. You just say this. And they say all these things. I don't even have time, Solomon. In my free time, I'm reading, I'm writing, or I'm watching some interesting sports. When do I get time? I spend so little time on social media. I don't have time for it. If it's, say, a public holiday and I'm home, you'll find me with a book, or you're going to find me with my laptop, either of the two, and a jug of water on the side. So how do I engage with these people on social media? How do I listen to a rant of 30 minutes from some guy who I don't even know? I don't do those things.
Charles Peter Mayiga, what does the next phase of your time in office look like as Katikiro of Buganda?
Well, what we do here is to draw a strategic plan. When I became Katikiro in 2013, we sat down with my colleagues and we drew a strategic plan, a 5-year strategic plan. 2013, I think we commissioned it in 2014 to 2018, then 2018 to 2023. Now we have 2023 to 2028. So that's the blueprint, if I may. That's what we are going to do. We are concentrating now on programs to uplift the youth. We are concentrating on programs to, make our culture, our heritage relevant to the young people. We are carrying out development programs. That's what we're going to be doing. We'll continue engaging with the government of our unsettled demands. So, but it's all in our strategic plan. We do not, like I told you, I've got people I work with. I don't work alone, actually. Actually, I ride on the shoulders of these great men and women I work with. Many people don't know that. And when we sit down, every year we get a retreat, a leadership retreat, and we examine we look at the progress or lack of it with regards to the strategic plan. So we say, for example, the strategic plan we have was commissioned in 2023. Now this is 2025, going in 2026. Next year, somewhere I think in March or April, we shall sit down and see how much progress have we covered. Have we covered sufficient progress? And if not, what has been the problem? What do we need to improve? That's how we work. It's not like I wake up and I say, we're going to do this. I do not, because I'm a team player. I'm a team player.
What's your message to the rest of the country as we get into this season? What is your comment? What is, if I gave you 1 minute, what would you tell Ugandans?
Uganda is big for all of us. And all of us will outlive. Uganda will outlive all of us. That's why I call upon every Ugandan to be calm and to be respectful towards one another. My experience, by the way, with Ugandans are very tolerant people. I've been to all parts of Uganda. And it's amazing how people receive me when I go to these places. People have nothing against you because your name is Serwanja. It doesn't happen. It happens between us, it's between us, the so-called middle class. Uganda's middle class, and people do that for selfish interests. Because, but the ordinary person, if you went to Gulu, if you went to Ankole, if you went to Mbale, the ordinary person just doesn't mind. That's why Ugandans live in harmony. I went to Kabaka the other year, and there were so many Baganda and Chigezi, and they just came there doing their things. Nobody minds them. How many non-Baganda are within Uganda? And nobody minds them. And I think that is something which is very good for this country. We've learned to stay together, because I was here. I was young when Amin was overthrown. People are running after the culprits, the people who were harassing them, but not generally the Nubians, because they would have wiped out those in Bombo. You know what I mean? They're all surrounded by Baganda, and Baganda suffered a lot during Amin's time. They didn't go after them because they knew they were innocent. And all these other changes we've witnessed. I've never seen a witch hunt as such. So, which is a very good attribute for us Ugandans, and that's what we should maintain. We stay in close proximity with one another. We work with one another. The Baganda love their Kabaka. Let them be. Let them be. The Karamajong have a cattle culture. Let them be. So I think that's what we need in this country. I think it's very easy to pacify this country from my experience. I've not seen those sharp ethnic divisions. People are always against those who they perceive as corrupt, for example, or those who actually torture them. Yes, but the ethnic groups of those people, not necessarily. They would have wiped out the Nubians in Bombo after the fall of Amin. But I didn't see that. And when Obote was overthrown in 1985, I don't think people moved against the Langese. All the Acholis after the Okellos fell. Not really. But if people thought you were torturing them, yes, they would single you out. So we need to respect each other. We need to tolerate each other. We need to be calm. Uganda is big enough for all of us.
Charles Peter Mayiga, thank you very much for the time that you've offered us and for this rich conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Great.
I've been watching you interviewing people. It's now my turn. I'm going to sit back in my shorts.
And you watch the entire interview.
And I watch the interview.
You will not believe how it sounds. Thank you very much. I have been speaking with the Prime Minister of Uganda, the Katikiro, Charles Peter Mayiga, really telling us about his vision for the kingdom, his successes and challenges, getting into the inner sanctum of the kingdom. I think it's the first time he has taken us deep into his life and his career as the Katikiro. I'm Solomon Serwanja, and this is The Hard Questions.